Namaste, friends. So we're going to have fun with this one. Om and Ong. Ong. So I want to first preface this by saying I have mad respect for Guru Nanak and his use of Ong. I don't completely understand it. Some people say it was used to frame things away from Hinduism. Yogi Bhajan has a lot of explanations about what Ong is. I don't want to get into Yogi Bhajan's explanations here. I'm more interested in discussing how to understand the use of Om and some of Yogi Bhajan's claims about Om versus what is actually said in a lot of the yoga text. So this video, my last video I didn't actually quote anything. I just laid things out and asked for faith that Kundalini Yoga and Hatha Yoga were the same and suggested people go to the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. But in this video, we're going to actually be looking at quotes from Yoga Sutras and the Upanishads about Om, and I find some of them to be kind of fun. So I remember one of my teachers, Kundalini Yoga teachers, always saying that Yogi Bhajan taught that if you chant Om, you'll have no home. It's an anti-prosperity mantra, and it will make your life not work, and it's not a very powerful mantra. So that was kind of sat funny with me, especially since I had a really strong and powerful healing experience using Sanskrit mantras before I really fully committed to Kundalini Yoga. I was doing Kundalini Yoga, but I got into these other practices for a little while before I blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. I was looking on the Library of Teachings, and I saw a thing, Yogi Bhajan says, you chant Om, and you won't have any underwear. So this is, to be expected from Yogi Bhajan, this kind of teaching. Chant Om, you don't have any underwear. Chant Om, you have no home. So these teachings don't really make a lot of sense. Now, I'm not here to criticize the use of Om. I'm just here to talk about what Yogi Bhajan was saying about Om and what yoga texts actually say about Om. So we'll jump in here. Let me get my quotes all lined up. So we'll start with the Upanishads because that's where everything starts. The Upanishads, the word Upanishad means to sit near or next to the master. Some of the Upanishads are like small books that were attached at the end of the Vedas, and some of them are separate books. It just depends on the Upanishad. They're considered to be of a lot of importance in Vedic thought and part of the early yoga systems. So first we'll go to the Katya Upanishad. Chapter 2, verse 16. This monosyllable Om is indeed Brahman, which is a name of God. Brahman means great expansiveness or all-encompassing everything, oneness. The syllable is the highest. Whoever knows the syllable attains all that he desires. Whoever knows the syllable Om attains all that he desires. So I could have a home, and I could have my underwear as well. So this is a different teaching than what Yogi Bhajan gave. And if you put the emphasis on Upanishad instead of Yogi Bhajan's teachings, the Upanishad has pointed out that Om actually fulfills all desires and that it's the highest monosyllable. The next verse says, Om is the best means of self-realization. This is the highest method. Whoever knows this Om is adored in the word of Brahman. So this is from the Katya Upanishad, chapter 2, verse 16 and 17 are talking about Om and its prosperity. It doesn't bring up any underwear or any homes, but it does talk about we can have all of our desires filled, which would be anything natural, which would be a good pair of underwear, and also a home. So, and the Yoga Sutras is very interesting. The section from in the first pada, it talks about Ishvara Pranidhanava, which is saying that samadhi can be quickly attained by devotional surrender to God. It's a quick method. And then it goes on a few more verses, and it says that God is the original teacher, the teacher of teachers. and that is in verse 26, I believe. It says that it is the original teacher for all teachers. And then it goes on to say that the word, Sutra 27 says the word that expresses God is Om, or Pranava. It uses the word Pranava, which means Om. So I find it interesting that Yogi Bhajan discourages Om when it's saying that it's the original teacher of all teachers, Om, and that the word that expresses God himself is the word Om. This word Om should be repeated with contemplation on its meaning. Verse 28. Then comes knowledge of the innermost self, also the destruction to obstacles of yogic life. So these verses here are talking about the importance of using Om for yogic sadhana, and that it can be a means of attaining self-realization in and of itself. Om is the name of God, and God is the ultimate Grand Master of all teachers. So this is a really beautiful teaching. It's very different than what Yogi Bhajan says about Om. So I personally don't put much authority on what Yogi Bhajan said about that. I put more authority on what the Yoga Sutras and the Upanishads say about Om. And actually, when I used to chant Ong, I didn't have a home, but now that I chant Om, I actually do have a home. So I find it all to be kind of funny, but it also can be very confusing when there's a lot of this heavy rhetoric against Om that came out of Yogi Bhajan's teachings. Now, if you also look at the psychology of if you chant Om, you don't have any underwear or you don't have any home, that's fear. It's telling people not to do something, not to do a practice, which most all yogis that I know of, they're all using this thing Om. And then he's sort of saying, don't do what they all say, do this thing, or there will be this negative impact on you. So that is a little bit tricky, and that's one of those things that I think we could remove from our practice, and we can enjoy chanting Om. Now again, I'm not saying don't chant Ong. I've been talking to some people, a lot of people don't want to use it because they feel like it's connecting them to Yogi Bhajan. If that's true or not, that's a personal thing for you to work out with your mysticism, but I did want to set the record straight that Om is talked about. There's a lot more verses that I have. I won't go over them all now from the Bhagavad Gita and from the Upanishads that talks about the use of Om and its importance in yoga practice. And it's actually a wonderful teaching because it's not saying that God is any particular form or name or male or female. It's saying Om, which is Om Tat Sat Om. Om is everything. And to Yogi Bhajan's benefit, I'll say there's some great teachings. When I went on the Library of Teachings and typed in Om, he does talk about some of those teachings as well. So this is my thoughts on the subject of Om and Ong, and good luck with what you choose and how you want to move forward in your personal practice as a yoga teacher in the world today. Thank you for taking time to listen. Peace. Om, 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 Tat Sat Om.